Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. This is the first time you are seeing me. Please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video is titled Hurry Up and Wait. We are going to discuss the 2021 4K and 8K lineup, their availability, some of the delays, some of the limited allocation, and whether you should pre-order, should you chase technology, should you chase promised features, or should you hang back? It's a very difficult year to decide that, and I'm here to help you guys, as that's what we're talking about mostly in the comments within the last 3 weeks, and I want to discuss it in today's video. All right, guys, welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. We are a community here. We are a family. And many of the subjects or topics for videos are actually from you guys, from conversations that we have. I am active in the comments. I spend more time responding to the comments than I do actually making content, which is fine. I enjoy that aspect of it. But I wanted to cover this topic, and we've talked about this last year and even the year before. We talked about this with the new consoles, which will be part of this conversation. But we're seeing this year, whether it's shortages or limited amounts, where they're being released. Talk about that and also help you decide if you should jump on a purchase, if you should wait, and what I would be doing and what I will be doing, because I'm actually in the same boat myself. I have an LG CX behind me. It's at 55 inches. My 77-inch CX went back to the store. It's Value Electronics, which is trying to locate me a clean panel to have it calibrated. Now, in that process, I do have the decision to also hang back and wait. Obviously, I have TVs here. I am a content creator, but this is my personal display. Now, like you guys, I have to make that decision. Do I stay with LG? Do I go with a C1? Do I go with an 83-inch C1? Do I also go with a G1 Evo at 77 inches? Do I go with an A90J? Do I jump to TCL Mini LED? Do I go with Samsung's LED? Do I go 4K? Do I go 8K? These are the conversations that we're having every day. I am a discussion-based channel. Basically, all we're doing is having that discussion here on a video. These are long videos. They're meant to be long. If you want short, concise information and bullet points everywhere, I am not the guy for you. But I'm having the same conversation as if you were sitting in front of me, because we are having this conversation in the comments. So what's making me want to do this video? Two things. I was in the Best Buy today and I picked up this expansion card for the Xbox Series X. $220, adding to what I already paid for the Series X to increase its storage. That's a whole nother video for both the PS5 and the Series X, the biggest drawbacks of both of them. I might add, that is the only drive that really works, because games that have been enhanced for the Series X belong on that hard drive. So I was buying that today, and I was having a discussion with my buddy Paul. Shout out to Paul, who's been on the channel before, who also has an Xbox One X and also has a TCL R635 Mini LED. And we were talking, and as I was walking into Best Buy, he said, "Do you think I should grab a Series X?" And without hesitation, my response was no. I don't think you should buy a Series X. There's really absolutely no reason to purchase it. You already have a One X. You already have a PS4 Pro. I would hang back till there's some exclusives. In the meantime, I'm spending an additional $220 to increase the storage on a console that I use for just a few games that take advantage of its technology and also take advantage of the technology on my display being HDMI 2.1. I'm also using that in only a few titles, namely Black Ops Cold War 4K 120, which he's enjoying at 4K 60 on his series or his One X. So that was part of what got me thinking about you guys. So as I walk into the store, I go to trade in Cold War on the PS5. They wouldn't take the trade in because the game's too new. And as I look over my shoulder back at Magnolia, none of the new panels are out in store. Now, you can say to me, and this is a battle I have in the comments all the time, at least recently, is there is no delay, there is no shortage, you're fear-mongering, you're clickbaiting. I do not do that. But Think what you like. What I'm telling you is that you have reviewers that are not professional reviewers that already have these panels. You don't have stores that have them. They still don't have an idea when they're going to have them. We have stores like Value Electronics that can ship them to their customers but can't get them in their own store. So they're not plentiful. They are scarce. There's a million reasons for that. I did a video on that. I also want to give a shout out to FOMO on Tech. I was recently on his channel with Joe and Tell. Shout out to Joe as well. We had a great time talking about the shortages. FOMO's name, the fear of missing out, is also very, it's perfect for this video, because I think that's what's driving so many of you is new technology is out, not just new types of technology, but the year. And there are all kinds of people that are upgrading right now. And I want to try and cover all you guys in this conversation, because some of you should just take the leap and some of you should hang back. But I'm here to help guide you, for you, not for me, not to buy from a store, not to buy or push anything like that. I'd rather you be content with what you have and make a more informed, patient buy, because I want you happy. I don't want you to go through the panel lottery that so many of us go through. But the only thing worse than, fear of missing out is buyer's remorse. Is that feeling that I bought it too soon, I paid too much, and it may possibly not live up to my expectations. Now, quickly before we go forward with the video, if any of you have pre-ordered the Samsungs or the A90J, this video is not to make you not want to go through with that purchase. I think you should. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. I'll have my hands on one soon. I'll have a hands-on demo at Value Electronics. I'll have some of those TVs in my own home. But I want to know your feedback. This is not a professional channel. I want to know what you think in those comments. I want to know your experience. I also want to give a shout out to Be the Installer. Has an excellent channel on YouTube. You guys probably know him more than you know me. If you don't know him, check out his channel. He is a professional installer. He does this for a living, and he has the recent mini LED Samsung video there. And he does a great job of breaking them down, both professionally and what he puts in people's homes. Check out his channel, great guy. He also does respond in the comments as well. So going over to B and checking out that Samsung, I'm hearing a lot, and FOMO and I also discussed this, a lot of disparity between the reviews, the really big professional reviews on some of Samsung's mini LEDs, and then you're seeing user reviews and other videos where it doesn't look so good, or it blooms a lot, or it's crushing blacks heavily, or it's having issues. Now, I'm not here to say either of that is right or wrong. What I think you should do is check out as many sources as you possibly can. Listen to them all, and then you digest what you think is the best on your needs and what you like. But what is really dicey about this year, even more so than last year. So last year, obviously, we have the pandemic. We also were seeing many people purchase displays because of consoles. And many of us in these communities were trying to say, do not purchase a display for the console. You can purchase a display with a console in mind, secondly, but not purposefully, not make that your number one priority. And that was a conversation that we had. And what I constantly heard was, you don't know what you're talking about. All these display or all these game consoles are going to do 4K 120 out of the box, no problem. 8K 30. I was kind of saying, look, go picture quality first. But that was just my personal opinion. Now, for those in the comments who say you're just in here saying what you think, yes, that is what I'm doing. I can't tell you what you think. I can give you my perception, but that's what the comments are for you to go in there and share your thoughts. These are my thoughts and my logic and picking panels and picking new displays. So last year, it was about consoles, PS5, Xbox Series X, GPU, CPU, SSD, speed, resolution. This is why I'm buying this. This is why I'm buying that. This year is even worse. Not only were those displays hard to get due to allocation and shipping, these displays, from both engineering standpoint of people working from home, from manufacturing, from them being built during this particular time, Not only that, but you do have the consoles still in mind. You also, from the big three, all doing different things, also dabbling in different technology, namely Sony, brighter OLED, Master Series, 4K. That's coming out. You have LG, Evo, brighter. That's coming out. You also have LG doing their own variant of mini LED. Their first go with that. You're also seeing Samsung, going back to what I mentioned about the installer's review, and there's other reviews out there, the promise of mini LED from them, first generation. Now, what's funny about Samsung is right away people will say to me, look, they've been doing micro LED forever. They are not the same thing. They're not selling you micro LED. Micro LED is a very high-end elite product. It will behave a certain way. With Samsung and Sony and LG, we have tiers. And Samsung especially, Q7, Q6, Q7, Q8, Q9, Q900. So you're going to have varying degrees of their efforts, various degrees of how their displays turn out. You might not have the same local dimming at the Q80 to the Q90, if you know what I'm saying. So you have to be mindful of what you're paying for. But what you're also going to see from many of them is trial and error. Many of us, more than ever, whether it's in gaming, especially in gaming, we are all beta testers. Cyberpunk was a great example of a game that was made kind of at home, and then all of a sudden we had it and it didn't meet any of the expectations. In the meantime, we were told it was going to improve, but you paid full price. And by the time it gets worked out, which by the way, it's still not worked out, you could buy the game used. So what this conversation is primarily about is you paying full price, or I should say the high price, on a panel that isn't what it's going to be yet. Now, with consoles, for instance, consoles, their prices typically stay pretty much the same. They launch, and then we overpay, or we pre-order and pay for these huge bundles of things that we don't want or don't need. An extra controller, the headset. It's what I did with the PS5. Honestly, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would not have the PS5. I would not have had the Series X. I would not even have a new display. I would still be with my 75-inch 900E. And I would just be hanging out and playing content. But when you're in the realm of this, as you guys are right now, the temptation is there. That's why that fear of missing out, that whole conversation is about, because it's scarce. Many of us were very patient with the consoles until we saw that we couldn't get them. I was going to get them at my leisure, and then all of a sudden I couldn't find them. And you're like, well, I really don't care. I really don't want it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I need it. Got to have it. So here I am with the PS5. Like the PS5, it's great. It's having its issues with loud fans and controllers having drift, or they're breaking. The Series X, I know a couple people that have already been through a few of them. There is almost nothing to play that you can't play on the One X. If you're looking at, but I just bought a $220 storage. But the fact of the matter is I easily could have hung back, but I have a channel. TVs aren't really that different. This year, though, is dicier than most. It was built, these panels were built during a very dicey time for our entire world. They're also into new technology. TCL had released their 8 series mini LED a couple of years ago. That panel, when it first released, was impressive, had crazy black crush, knocked out all the detail, and then it was later on updated and changed. Some of these panels never get updated and actually change their picture quality. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is then TCL released the R635, which was better in terms of the algorithm, but it was a step down in its tier. Now you're going to see TCL with their 8K lineup. So not only are you seeing TCL like the others, not only is it doing mini LED again, by being at 8K, now they're trying 8K, trying to get through that pixel density. What's their light output going to be? And most importantly, what is their upscaling going to be? As we know with 8K, upscaling is definitely more important than it was at 4K. So these are a lot of questions. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be a beta tester? Do you want to be someone that spends that kind of money to have a product that might not be finished, or have them say, oh, my bad, we weren't ready to release it? So I'm not putting down any of these companies. I'm not saying you shouldn't purchase. What I'm saying is, if you can hang back a little bit, again, if you've pre-ordered it, I don't want this to make you nervous. And this is where we have to be careful even making these videos, is you have so many people watching, thankfully, that it's impossible not to not offend. We're not worrying about offending people, but make them concerned about their purchase. I don't want anybody stepping away and saying, I shouldn't have bought this. I'm going to cancel my pre-order. I'm going to do this. Don't do that. And also, don't let one voice influence you or change your mind on that. What I am asking you to do is kind of prepare yourself for, one, the panels being available, not being, but prepare yourself for there being that beta tester aspect of it, that part where it might not be everything it's marketed to be. Now, going back to Samsung real quick, was mini LED, and I hear this again in the comments about OLED. OLED is this, it's finished. Mini LED, micro LED, it's going to annihilate it. You're going to get OLED blacks with LED peak brightness. I have not seen it yet. I have not seen it, and from what I've seen on reviews so far, we're not there yet. Now, will we be there in the 900 lineup, their 8K high-end lineup? But if I was somebody that bought those panels right now, I'd be very disappointed. So I'd rather see, somebody like be the installer who's buying them and puts them in, see him be disappointed and share that information, and also see all the various other YouTubers and professional kind of hang back and see what they're going through, rather than you going through it or me going through it. Now, if I go through it, at least I have you guys. When you guys are going through it, you don't have anyone. You have your family, and they're just like, what the hell is your problem? I don't know what you, blooming? What is that? I don't know what you're talking about. It looks fine. And then you go through what many of us went through, is whether it's the return process. Am I crazy? Am I seeing that? You don't even know what you're supposed to be looking at. These TVs being tested by the larger channels, the HDV test, Vincent, and ratings, watching them measure the peak brightness, watching them measure the contrast ratio. TVs, more than anything, especially with somebody like Samsung, the Q7FN was not matched up well with the Q70R. They were not matched up. And they tend to go through their next lineup, and then the next year is a step down. So a Q90T doesn't exactly match up with a Q90R, whether it's specs, zones, peak brightness, contrast ratio. So you can't just grab the next lineup. When I got the CX, I pre-ordered it. And I meant to pre-order the 77-inch. It was not available. I wanted the 55-inch for the channel. Even as knowledgeable as I feel that I am, it was a leap of faith. And then when the 48 gigabytes per second debacle came out, I was like, oh, well, that's great. But for me, that would still be a topic or a discussion that I can have. Now, I know enough to know it wasn't a big deal and did my research, but in the meantime, my money was already out there. So that was, I kind of naked, you know what I'm saying? I kind of knew at that point, wait a second. So if I didn't have a channel, I would not have made that purchase. And while you look at us in communities in YouTube, a lot of YouTubers will buy something, review it, and send it back. Or they will sell it to somebody else. Their purchase a lot of times isn't permanent. They're not keeping it, which is okay. I mean, how many TVs do you freaking need? My CX goes back upstairs, but the next purchase you'll see me make will be my own personal one. But the other displays you'll see me bring in will be loaned to me from Value Electronics, or maybe I'll purchase one. But the point of the matter is you can trust all different people and what they're purchasing and why they're purchasing it. But when you look at us, you're making that purchase, you're going to hold on to that display. So you might see a channel buy a panel, and I got to get that. I would say hang back. I would say let them work out the bug. And I know it's hard to be patient. If you're coming from 1080p and you want the newest panel and you want something, anything you get other than if you're coming from an old, beautiful plasma is going to be an upgrade. it's going to be an upgrade. But for those of you that have that fear of missing out, you are hanging out with a 4K, regular 4K HDR panel with 60 hertz or 120 hertz, but you want 120 FPS. Hang back. Wait for Sony to actually implement their HDMI 2.1. Wait to see how LG's handles the brighter panels. Wait to see how Sony handles the brighter panels. Wait till these consoles are actually available. The 900H was an interesting thing because it's a great display. And I'll be doing a conversation with that versus the 950H in a few days. But that display should have been bought because it was a tremendous value. It was a great display, but a great value. Instead, it was pitted against the 950H because it had HDMI 2.1. The problem is a lot of you guys paid for that last year, and it was never implemented. It's coming in the spring with the rest of my point is, you paid for that a while ago. Now you're able to then finally enjoy 4K 120, but then you're probably saying, well, in a few games. Now, if you have the 900H, it's a great display, but you bought that as a great value. Buying them for features that have not been delivered yet is the trick. And so much that we are purchasing is not going to be delivered quite yet. Not because they're updating issues like firmware updates. But what I'm saying about promised is micro LED or mini LED giving you exactly what OLED is, but better. That's a promise too. Whether it's with Samsung or LG, with their mini LEDs, or with OLEDs being brighter. Want to wait and see how that shakes out. I'm curious to see how it shakes out. But for I'm in the same position. What do I buy? Do I buy the 77-inch? Well, I don't know. I have to think myself, value-wise, do I really want to spend an additional $3,000 for 20% peak brightness? The Sony A90J. Gorgeous. It's going to be beautiful. It's probably the A90J is probably the biggest can't miss panel. Because you know what Sony's going to do with their processing. The OLEDs are all amazing. That's probably the can't miss. But then for me, do I go back down to the HDMI 2.1, losing those ports? They're important to me. So you have to know what's important to you. But when you're watching us and you're seeing the decisions we make, try and bring it to yourself and say to yourself, maybe I should wait to see what mini LED really does. Marketing and what they deliver is so different. It can be completely different. At times, it could be the opposite. Mini LED, micro LED, it's been promising this for the longest time. They've gotten close. They're not OLEDs. OLEDs aren't LEDs. So for me, I'd love to see LEDs just keep getting brighter and have great black levels. And I do have high hopes for what micro LED and what mini LED can be. But I want to wait personally myself to see how that shakes out. I don't love what I've seen. Now, as someone that does this, YouTube has a channel, the channel is growing, I can make the buy and see how it shakes out. But if it was for my own personal panel, that's a big risk. You guys don't buy TVs every single day, and it's probably going to last you a few years. So I would hang back, or at least be a little bit apprehensive, and wait to see if they deliver on those promises. And that's all of them. TCL, Vizio, all of them. Wait till they're reviewed. And that's kind of what we're having an issue with here. I'd love to see the user get the technology before the actual reviewers. That's great. However, the problem is when you buy something like that, you don't stop reading reviews. You should, but you kind of want to almost hear how great your purchase was. And then you find out that it's only 1,000 nits. It's supposed to be 3,000 nits. Well, I read that it was going to be the double processor, blah, blah, blah. They said no blooming. There's blooming here. Or this one only reaches a certain peak brightness in a certain picture set. Or this one. So my point is, it's okay to be patient. If you're cutting edge and you want to be first, there's a price to pay. That price is financial, and there is a chance that it might not deliver. It might deliver and be phenomenal. But I would say hang back, hurry up in regards to your research, checking out different channels. Don't just watch one person or read one article. Watch them all. And then create the discussion within yourself. What's good for you? then listen to who's telling you what they're telling you. Is it somebody you can relate to? Is that your usage? Is that what you need? And then make your decision. It's not, buying TVs is not fun. But I will say, when they're lent to me or people are buying them for YouTube, it's definitely less stressful than it is for you guys. And I just want you guys to have the best possible display for yourselves and to not go through all of the returns and all the problems that happens with these, because fear of missing out is one thing. Buyer's remorse is completely another. All right, guys, I am Brian at Whisper Status 74. Thank you so much. I will see you in the comments. Take care. And also for you guys that hung out this long, I went and got my wig cut. Since my hair has become like a topic of conversation if my hair is real or not, it is my real hair. All right, guys, have a great night. I hope all is well. Kind of an inside joke with the people in the comments that think that I don't have real hair for some reason. But yeah, it's there. All right, guys, see you in the comments. Take care.